I don't think you're being kind. I think you're being sensible.
And we might start agreeing on some of this, and then it's going to get messy.
I hear you.
All right, moving on to the juicy part.
This is where we're going to disagree.
I think there might be some disagreement here. All right, welcome to The Football Is On. Today we've got a very special show. We've got Dan Potts, Arsenal fan in the building, and we've got Terry Flewers, United fan in the building. The first segment, we are doing a Manchester United versus Arsenal all-time Premier League combined 11. Dan, I'm going to start with you first, going with the goalkeeper.
I love David Seaman, but I've got to give it to Peter Schmeichel. I think Peter Schmeichel is the best Premier League goalkeeper of all time. And we might start agreeing on some of this, and then it's going to get messy towards the last few positions. But I'm going to be kind, Tel, because I think Peter Schmeichel was world class. I thought he was unbelievable. And if I had to pick all time, I'd probably only put Petr Cech on his level, maybe a couple of others. For me, I'm going to let you have Peter Schmeichel. Unless, of course, you think David Seaman's better.
I don't think you're being kind. I think you're being sensible. It's Schmeichel. Van der Sar, for instance, is an option. De Gea's an option. Seaman's an option. Lehmann's got half a shout as well. But for me, Schmeichel, out of all, when he was at United in the 90s, he was the best keeper in the world at that time. So yeah, I totally agree. Totally agree.
I think if you did a compilation, I think you'd get more world-class saves from David Seaman in terms of like iconic, the Sheffield Uniteds, the Sampdorias. But I think overall, you've got to give it Schmeichel, man.
So we're aligned on that. Schmeichel's in goal.
Yep.
Right back. Starting with you, Terry.
See, I'm going to go a little bit... there's a pun in here as well, left field. I'm going with Dennis Irwin. My reasoning... it
will, reaction to that
it will throw everyone, because what we're about to say, especially if you've got a younger audience, they're not going to know this. One, he is one of the best left backs in the history of the Premier League. This man was so consistent in the greatest English side of all time. However, what people don't realise is why I actually have him down as the greatest fullback in Premier League history, is he did a decade at left back, dominated, but he's right-footed and a right back. Now, as I rate Ashley Cole, I rate Walker, Trent, Gary Neville, none of them would have been as good if they spent 10 years on the opposite side of the pitch. So for me, because I want to put a certain person at left back, for me, I'm going to put him in his natural position, and that's Dennis Irwin at right back.
What was he for, like you say, for younger viewers? Even myself, I don't really remember watching Dennis Irwin play. What was he like? Was he more attacking? Was he defensive?
Both. I mean, he was our penalty taker for many years. He was dynamite from a penalty. He could take a free kick, but he would maraud up and down. It just didn't have the names of that. Back then, it was just what we call a fullback. But he could attack. He could play ball. He had a good first touch. Defensively, he was just fantastic week in, week out. He was just complete in that way. And I think what doesn't help him is that he was a very, very unassuming. He wasn't a media guy, very quiet. I don't even think he had an agent. He just, I'll sign my new contract and I'll play. It's a very, very quiet man. But for me, Mr. Consistent, always a 7.5, 8 out of 10. You never worried about him. There was never a game, no matter who we were playing, Champions League, Premier League, no matter what. I didn't care. Dennis Irwin was starting. I didn't worry. And I didn't realise till I was older that he wasn't left-footed. He was right-footed, but played on the opposite side for a decade and was one of the best fullbacks in Europe. So for me, I'm giving him his natural position of right back.
Wow. I didn't expect that. I expected Gary Neville.
I expected Gary Neville, and that's who I'd have gone with. Look, I love Lee Dixon. I think he is criminally underrated. I thought he was an unbelievable fullback and is part of that George Graham back five that was so famous. I think Gary Neville is the best right back the Premier League has seen. In terms of longevity, in terms of consistency, I think you look at his defending ability, it's better than Kyle Walker, in my opinion. I think Kyle Walker's definitely got the pace. But overall, I think Gary Neville, for me, as a Premier League right back, would have been the one. I appreciate your shouting Dennis Irwin, because actually as a left-sided left back, I think he's better than Patrice Evra. I would have actually put Dennis Irwin in at left back ahead of Patrice Evra in a Man United all-time Premier League combined 11. But I would personally go with Gary Neville, but I don't think I can put Lee Dixon ahead of Gary Neville or Dennis Irwin in terms of how good he was. So I've just got to be fair. I think I would flip the coin for Gary Neville or Dennis Irwin. I would go with Gary Neville, but if Tel's going to be the Man United rep to say Dennis Irwin, then...
I rate Gary. I love Gary Neville. Not so much his opinions at the minute, but I rate him, but I want to go with Irwin.
Cool. All right, centre-back. We're going to do a centre-back pairing. We'll start with you, Dan. Right centre-back, left centre-back.
I've got one Arsenal, one Man United. Tony Adams and Rio Ferdinand. them together
Solid.
would be unbelievable.
Yeah.
One of the best ball playing defenders in Rio Ferdinand, absolutely incredible. I think for me, it's Sol Campbell, Tony Adams, Rio Ferdinand, Jaap Stam. I think they're all better than Vidic, personally. That's where I was looking at it. And I can't leave Tony Adams out. He's Mr. Arsenal in terms of his leadership qualities and how good he was on the ball. People forget that. People look at John Terry as being better than him on the ball and stuff. Tony Adams could play football. Like, people forget that. And Rio Ferdinand, I think, is one of the best ball-playing defenders the Premier League has seen. So I have to put them two in personally.
Terry, is there any agreement in the two of those?
Not in who I picked, but the rationale I get, and I agree with the reasoning. I did go for Arsenal, one Man United, and I went for Jaap Stam and Sol Campbell.
Okay.
Because I feel, again, that Stam, like all Dutch players, can play out from the back. The speed and power of this man was unbelievable. He was the only guy that used to almost laugh at Michael Owen trying to run past him in their pomp. Sol Campbell, I feel he was the best centre-back in the world for a 4 or 5 year period. At the end of his time with the Tottenham, and then when he went to Arsenal, one of the funniest days of my life, watching my dad cry at home when he was holding that arc. My dad's a Spurs fan. Yeah, so Sol Campbell for me, I always feel like Sol Campbell, and maybe it's because of what he did as a manager and maybe the ending of his career. Sometimes players don't go out at their pomp. I feel he's quite disrespected. I don't know if he gets the love and appreciation, again, a bit like I was saying with Irwin, and maybe to a higher degree. Sol Campbell was literally, I would say, from the early 2000s to the mid 2000s, the best centre-back in the world, and I think he deserves to be there. Tony Adams, though, I get the shout, just Mr. Dependable, fantastic, but I feel Sol Campbell was a better defender than him. Same with Stam. Stam wasn't at United as long as Rio, so Rio's got the longevity element in our team. But those 3 to 4 years we had with Jaap Stam, again, we did a 3-peat and a treble with him, and he played within himself most of the time. So for me, United's best Premier League centre-back has been Jaap Stam above everybody else, and it's a hard one to pick from. But if you want Tony Adams, then...
This is how I think we agree on this.
Yeah.
He's obviously representing United, and he's gone for Stam. So I think we say Stam gets in, and you're representing Arsenal, you've gone for Adams. So we go Stam and Adams?
That would be a beastly centre-back pairing. No one would get past it.
No, you're not.
You wouldn't want to come near that, would
No.
you? Like, let's be honest, you wouldn't want to come near that.
All right, that's locked in. Left back, I assume, is going to be... We're all on the same page?
I personally don't like to say it, but I am going to pick Ashley Cole.
It has to be.
I think he's the best Premier League left back that's been around.
Yeah.
I think he's won everything in the game. And as much as I can appreciate everybody hates him, I kind of look back now and understand why he fell out so much with what we did, because we underappreciated him really by not paying him what he deserved to be on. And he went and won everything with Chelsea. And I think that when you look back at that and you think, why did Ashley Cole leave Arsenal, right? You look back and you think, do I want to go and play with John Terry, Frank Lampard and Didier Drogba, or do I want to go and play with Denilson, Senderos and Shamak, or whoever it was?
And not get paid what you're promised by David Dean.
Precisely.
David Dean's literally come out and said, it's our fault that he left that.
Well, people used to leave Arsenal and never win anything. Yeah, people used to leave like Petty and then Overmars and Anelka, and we used to go, why are you leaving? Because we're doing everything here. Now that's completely flipped. You look at Ashley Cole, you look at Cesc Fabregas, you look at Thierry Henry, you look at Robin van Persie, even the likes of the City guys that went there, the Nasris, the Clichés, the Sagners, the Adebayors of this world, they all went there to do actually successful things. So
pretty much everyone that left us, between 2006 to 2016, even now, has gone on to win things.
Yeah, it has to be Ashley Cole.
Yeah, I'd go with Ashley Cole 100% as well.
Formation, we didn't even talk about this. Did you 4-4-2?
I went 4-4-2. What have you gone?
So I went 4-3-3, and I had an interesting one for the left side of midfield. But if you want to go 4-4-2, that makes it easier for me.
I think 4-4-2 fits because we need 2 strikers up.
Let's go 4-4-2 then.
Let's start with the 2 midfielders then, Terry. Let's do it as a partnership.
See, if we went 4-3-3, what I was going to be suggesting would have been Patrick Vieira holding with Scholes and Ryan Giggs either side. Because Giggs dominated for 3 years in central midfield between 37 and 40 and won 2 Premier League titles. Yeah. However, if we're going to go 4-4-2...
Yeah. So your partnership would be Vieira and Scholes?
No. It would be Scholes and Roy Keane. The greatest...
Wait, so if you're doing the 4-3-3, Roy Keane wasn't going to be in
I wouldn't have Roy Keane holding by himself in the middle, but I'd have him in partnership in the middle.
But you said the 4-3-3 was going to be Scholes, Vieira, Giggs.
Yes, but that's because Scholes would go forward, Giggsy would be moving out. I would trust Vieira more by himself alone in the middle in a 4-3-3. If I'm going for a partnership where there's 2, where you're going to have one of the strikers who drops a little bit deeper, I'd go with Roy Keane and Scholes
Okay. All right. So that's your
as a
two.
pairing. Yeah.
Dan.
My two is Vieira and Scholes. And I think Terry already knows that that's correct because he's already put Vieira in.
He already put Vieira.
No, I hear you. But I,
In
honestly,
the original team, there was no.
but like I said, I was doing functionality, but I'm more than happy with that as long as Paul Scholes is in there because for me, greatest central midfielder in Premier League history.
Cool. Right. So we've agreed on that midfield then. Scholes, Vieira.
Yes,
Left. I think you already touched on it. Going Giggs.
got to be Giggs for me.
Dan. Happy with Giggs on the left. Anyone
I'm
you
not
put
happy
forward?
because I love Robert Pires. However, it's got to be Ryan Giggs, most decorated Premier League player in history. And as much as I think Alexis Sanchez and Robert Pires and some of the other guys I could put forward, I think Giggs has got to get there, if I'm honest. So I would go Giggs on the left.
Cool. We'll put him on the left. Going over to the right, I assume this is going to be unanimous as well. It's only one man, right?
Beckham.
Yeah.
Sir
I was gonna
David
say
Beckham.
Cristiano Ronaldo.
No, it is Ronaldo, but I wanted to mention David's name. We're from the same part of East London. I love him.
But if we're real, he's nowhere near the level of. I think there's other players you could put on the right above.
He'd be my second choice for Man United going into that space.
Okay.
But Cristiano Ronaldo, I mean, he was a rightful Ballon d'Or winner. He could do it all. He's still playing now at 40. I know it's not a United anymore, but yeah, he's just got to be the pick for me.
There's not really anyone that I can put forward above Cristiano Ronaldo or Beckham, if I'm honest with you. I mean, obviously Alexis Sanchez would be one, but he was more kind of left-hand side for us. Saka's far too young in the game yet.
Saka's maybe our closest, but he's way too young.
Way
Maybe
too young in the
Ljungberg
game.
on the
Freddie
right.
Ljungberg deserves a mention. I thought with his red hair, 2002 is our best player of the year that year. But for me, Cristiano Ronaldo. I mean, the guy was scary what he was doing at Manchester United, and I think some people kind of underappreciate how long he was in the Premier League for, because people kind of just see him as the Real Madrid guy. He was a little bit of he was actually in the Premier League as long as Robert Pires was. So when people are saying that Robert Pires has to get in and Ronaldo wasn't really in there long enough, I've seen people do that before. I think you've got to be right. Like, he was unbelievable for Man United, like scary good.
All right, moving on to the juicy part.
This is where we're going to disagree.
I think there might be some disagreement here, and there's going to be some names that I think a lot of people in the comments and people watching might disagree with. Surely one of them has to be unanimous. You both put Thierry Henry in the team, right?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Let's agree on this one first, and then we'll go on to the other
Premier
one.
League GOAT, man, for me. I think he's been incredible. I think when you've got a player that has that kind of aura about him, I think that gets him a lot more points for the Premier League GOAT conversation. I think those that bring up other names, and rightly so, those names are incredible. And when we're talking about the GOAT, no one's rubbish you're bringing up, right? But for me, Thierry Henry, I think every time you looked, and back then it was like CFAX or on your phone. If you ever Thierry Henry scored. And I used to go into games thinking, Henry ain't scored yet. Oh, there it is, goal. And that for me was scary. And I think Paul Merson summed it up better with this quote. He said, "He's the only footballer I've seen that looks like he is a 17-year-old playing an under-10s game. He used to just run around everyone score, and you think, how's he done that?" And the goals that he scored for me against Tottenham, against Liverpool, against Real Madrid at the Bernabeu, these are goals that will be iconic. I don't think there'll be a Premier League player with that much aura again. I thought he was just unreal, man. Unbelievable player.
You agree?
Yeah, I do. I mean, he is iconic, and I think when it comes to legacy and greatness, it isn't just your ability, the goals you score. It's the lasting effect you have. The fact that he is still he's loved so much by rivals of Arsenal. Even some Spurs fans I know are like, can't stand him, but oh my God, he was good. And I think when somebody resonates like that, he has everything. There are sayings that are still used today, like va va voom. And as much as that's nothing to do directly with football, the fact that people, if you say va va voom, they know you mean Thierry Henry, 20 odd years later, there's something about that, if that makes sense, you know. Very similar with Cantona and the collar being up. Someone could put their collar up now and someone would go, oh, he's doing a Cantona. That's 30 years since he left the Premier League. And I think those elements feed into greatness, but you can only get away with that if you were a great footballer. You know, you can't, Tom Cleverley couldn't do it, and then everyone goes, oh, that's a Cleverley 20 years later. You've got to be a great footballer. So yeah, Henry's got to be there.
The only one I can think of that where people do it and it wasn't a big player. Maybe Delap with the throw-ins. You know what I mean? If you took a long throw, it'd be like, oh, he's doing a Delap. But he played for Stoke.
True.
Yeah, you get that with those moments. No, absolutely. But he wouldn't have a catchphrase. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You sometimes get it. But yeah, like maybe you've got a bit of that with Sean Dyche with like utter woke nonsense. There's those things.
True.
But they're more memes, I suppose.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Cool. All right. Terry, give me your second striker.
It's such a hard decision because I suppose this is a bit of a dig, really. For Arsenal, it's so easy to pick your best striker. You've then got Bergkamp that comes into the mix. And then, honestly, who else are you talking about in the Arsenal ranks?
Well, Van Persie, maybe.
Van Persie, yes.
Is he an Arsenal legend? Is he a United
See, again, I
legend?
just think, I don't even think of him as an Arsenal player anymore. I think of him as United.
That's fair.
So you've got sort of three. With us, we've got Van Persie. We've got Andy Cole, we've got Dwight York, we've got Teddy Sheringham, we've got Cantona. You know, there's Cole and York, Van Nistelrooy.
Guy on the back of your shirt.
There's Berbatov, right? Yes. There's Wayne Rooney, and I'm forgetting players. It's so hard to choose, and I am torn between two, and it's Eric Cantona and Wayne Rooney. I'm really split. Because what Cantona did when we won 4 league titles in 5 years, and if it hadn't been for him, listen, the great campaign kicking racism out of football. If it wasn't for the ban that he got for that down at Selhurst Park, we missed out on by a point. I think we'd have won 5 on the bounce, and he was integral. However, Wayne Rooney, what that kid did from the age of 18. And for 10 years plus at United, our record goal scorer, the trophies that he won. And we're doing an Arsenal United combined 11 here. What he did regularly to Arsenal as well. It was almost a guarantee he would score. So I love Cantona. He was an amazing part of my childhood, but I am going to go with Wayne Rooney, partnering Thierry Henry.
Dan, you agree with Rooney and Henry?
I don't. I'll tell you why. The best player to wear the Arsenal shirt is Dennis Bergkamp. And I can't leave him out of a combined 11. Now, this is difficult because it makes it sound like I don't rate Wayne Rooney or Eric Cantona. I happen to probably have put Cantona ahead of Rooney, if I'm honest. I thought Eric Cantona was ridiculous. And there's 3 footballers that have maybe go wow in the game, and he's one of them alongside Dennis Bergkamp and Gianfranco Zola. They're the 3 players for me that I would look at in Premier League and say they were the ones I enjoyed watching the most. I don't deny what Wayne Rooney's done to Arsenal and done for Manchester United. But as a footballer, Dennis Bergkamp is better than Wayne Rooney. Dennis Bergkamp has a better first touch than him. Dennis Bergkamp's passing ability is nothing like I've seen. His technical ability is the best at the club. And when Thierry Henry says I wouldn't have scored as many goals without Dennis Bergkamp, that's enough for me. The guy was my favourite player to watch. I absolutely loved his goals compilations. If you put the goals of Wayne Rooney, you'll see some unbelievable ones. The volley against Newcastle, the overhead kick against Manchester City. But I've seen those before.
Goal against Arsenal.
Goals against Arsenal. When I look at Dennis Bergkamp, I've still not seen the Newcastle goal replicated anywhere in world football, ever. And I know people will try and say that Bruno did it once or that one of the other players have done it before, but they were nothing like that. And people that say that he didn't mean that, watch Dennis Bergkamp, you know he meant that. Yeah. Goals against Leicester, unbelievable hat-trick. Yeah, people forget he scored a hat-trick in that goal. That was his 3rd goal to his hat-trick goal. That was incredible. What he's doing technically there, the coordination and the timing of that goal, I've never seen that replicated again. And I look at the goals he scored from outside the box. I remember there was a compilation goal of when they both hit 100 goals, Henry and Bergkamp. Now, I understand that Henry hit it like in half the time, but Dennis Bergkamp as a number 10, all of his goals are outside the box pretty much. Everything was technically gifted about him. For me, I just think he's a better player and a better footballer than Rooney and Cantona. And I thought both of them were outstanding, by the way. That's how highly I rate. And I think that if he could fly, I swear we would have won the Champions League with him in the team. Because there is so much about his game that I thought we missed when he wasn't there. And Thierry Henry just said, ask anybody who played alongside him, whether it's Anelka, Van Persie, Thierry Henry, Ian Wright, who they love the most is Dennis Bergkamp.
I would put Cantona and I'd put Rooney in the combined 11 over Bergkamp. I'm taking nothing away from him, but what I am looking at here is 2 players who, in their own way, brilliant touch, flamboyant, scored amazing goals, iconic moments, all the things we spoke about when it comes to Henry a little bit earlier. Rooney has a longevity argument, but these boys helped their club win 3 or 4, 5 Premier Leagues. Rooney, for instance, five Premier Leagues, a 3-peat, a Premier League, Champions League double. Again, integral in that entire element. And I think when we look at the players we mentioned earlier and the trophies they've won, most decorated players, as brilliant as Bergkamp was, there were still seasons where him and his team didn't get over the line, didn't win more. And he won a lot. We are splitting hairs here between the best. And it's, for me, more than happy for yours, if that to be your answer, I can't give up a Man United striker in this. I think we've had too many top-level, world-class, iconic strikers to not get one in the combined 11 for me.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, that one's going to have to go to the comments. We've agreed on 10 out of the 11. The only one we disagreed on is Rooney or Bergkamp. So let us know in the comments what your pick is. Just going to run through this team. This is a pretty good team. I think this will probably win the Premier League now. Maybe just. We've got Schmeichel in goal. Dennis Owen, we agreed to go at right back. That was your idea, Terry. But Jaap Stam, Tony Adams, centre backs. Ashley Cole, left back. We've got Scholes and Vieira in midfield. Ryan Giggs on the left. Cristiano Ronaldo on the right. And up front, Thierry Henry and either Wayne Rooney or Dennis Bergkamp.
Good team.
Good team. Any arguments? Anyone that might just get in if you were to change one? Or
I think we've mentioned Cantona as an example. I think Keane is close. Again, there's another shout for me. Just another United player that's underrated is Michael Carrick. I just think his work he did for us for so many years just goes. I was watching him on Soccer Aid the other day, and he just looked. Again, he's too old to do it now, but it was just seamless. He was brilliant. I think you mentioned Lundberg earlier as well. I think and Perez, from an Arsenal point of view, they're both close, very close.
I think for me, other than the Rooney Bergkamp debate, I genuinely think there's only 3 positions that people in the comment section will be like, really? And I think that's the right back situation with Gary Neville and the centre back pairing, because that centre back pairing genuinely could be any of 4 or 5 players. They're that good. Yeah,
but I don't think anyone can look at this team and go, I don't get why you've done that.
100%.
Maybe if they've tuned in now, why is Dennis Irwin there? Go back and just listen to the rationale, and hopefully that makes sense to them, because, again, the younger generation just won't know that about Dennis Irwin, but he was just so good.
Cool. All right, there you go. That's our team. Well, that's Dan's team and that's Terry's team. Let us know in the comments what your team would be, if you agree, if you disagree, and who would you choose between Rooney and Bergkamp.